Hello, my name is Nam. I hope this is working okay. My project today is on erratic rock in the Patagonia of Chile. I'm a fourth year public health policy major. I've listed a link here, and the goal here is to install an employee community program that benefits both company and customer experience. A little different than what we've seen in the lectures and some of the materials we reviewed in the past. However, I thought I'd take a different approach and see if this could work. So enjoy. The Patagonia Forest. Here, the Patagonia Forest is located in the southern portion of South America. It's divided into two parts, Chile and Argentina. Most enticing attraction would be the backpacking into the world-famous Patagonian marvel, Torres del Paine. And this trail actually boasts over 200 miles of trailblazing adventure. It has been deemed as a biosphere, as a reserve for people to consider and protect and to enjoy for over 30 years now, nearly 40. And it's a place where you can find many of the natural wonders that remain uncontaminated. And very much so unique. Uh, Given the reviews that I've seen as well, there tends to be a significant portion of foreign visitors to the Patagonia forest. Not to say that local citizens as well, however, this is a marvel of the wonder, a wonder of the world. Therefore, you would expect people to be coming here. Primary port of entrance would be Puerto Natales, which is about an hour's out, about 60 kilometers away from Punta Arenas Airport, which is the only airport that you can reach in the Patagonia, and from Puerto Natales to the trailhead would be about 2.5 hours. The Erratic Rock Company. Their founders, Rustin Mesdag and Bill Penhallow, they built this company only just a decade ago. They wanted to provide a service to climbing activities, trekking, kayaking, backpacking, and at the same time to address and inform and educate people of to be educationally or environmentally conscious and to be educated of the earth and how we treat this earth. They actually hold information seminars at their headquarter Erratic Rock station out in Puerto Natales at 3 o'clock daily for young children, the audience is the young children, adults, as well as the community. A couple accommodations to include are expeditions, large group expeditions, safety equipment handling, hostel stays, um, as well as a guiding service for all kinds of the like backpackers, students, outdoor enthusiasts, college outdoor departments, team building groups, world travelers. As you can tell, employees have a wide array of tasks, including guides on expeditions, instructors, various outdoor activities, hostel maintenance, administrative duties, equipment management. A little background about the country of Chile. Its nickname is the Red One. It houses about 18 million inhabitants, a little less actually. A third of him, a third of the inhabitants actually live in the capital Santiago. Coastline of Chile takes up nearly 6,000 and 6,500 miles, just over 2,000 kilometers, and the infant mortality rate is fairly low on a global scale. And the average life expectancy, males 74, females 80. Democratic Republic comprises 15 regions. Regions tend to identify stronger than to their nations. We'll go into that a little later. And some mentioned in lecture prevailing health issues would be high body mass index, obesity, smoking, elderly problems, and most importantly, cardiovascular disease. Healthcare system is comprised of two systems in healthcare. Public sector, which is known as the FONASA, and the private sector, ISAPRE. The public sector, though more popular, does not necessarily provide the best healthcare and certainly is inefficient. This does enroll citizens into a public sector, however, they use public hospitals, and at times they do not necessarily hold the best healthcare provisions. The private sector, though you do have to pay a little extra out of your income, as you can note here at the bottom, 7% income is paid at the very least, mandated by the government to either public sector or private sector, depending on your choice. then they may do so. You may increase that amount of income in the private sector and get yourself better benefits. The AUGE plan is actually for those who have been genetically placed back due to any kind of extreme rare illnesses or diseases, and it almost guarantees them certain health care, which is a great provision in the system. Quick look at the HC numbers. In terms of healthcare, you can tell FONASA has definitely more percentage. ISAPRE not as much. However, the FONASA certainly does not have the best kind of equipment and personnel, and therefore Chilean take is that it is unsatisfactory. Not just because of the FONASA, but also because the pension percentage is also taken from their income, and this is mandated into a privately insured program of the government, which arouses quite a bit of argument because it puts people out of financially troubling situation. Cultural influence and mentality. Chileans are beginning to recognize the importance of education, both in political, occupational, and personal aspects of their life. However, there are many risks and dangers that are not yet shed light upon. These two dishes, choripan and choriana, are some of my favorite dishes. However, they are not the greatest in nutrition, along with a plethora of different foods that are not the greatest in nutrition. People don't tend to prioritize physical activity and can lead a sedentary lifestyle, and at the same time, outdoor exercise is limited. A mentionable habit of drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes is certainly prevalent, and the lack of time perception tends to set a cultural restriction to how much people want to work. So, in order to contact the erratic rockers, the workforce is not massive. However, there are certainly plenty of volunteers and interns that circulate, as well as seasonal helpers, and this is really all just based off of what time of the year it is. The two primary owners are still in operation. However, I was not able to get in a hold of them. Rustin Mesdag and Bill Penhollow, both American, and their two locations of Erratic Rock are located in Puerto Natales. Phone number is listed here as a 5-6 number of Chile, and the information email was generally done through this email address, and I would recommend email simply because there's a big time difference, about 3 to 5 hours depending on daylight savings, and simply put name, reason why you're doing this, and student college affiliation was completely fine for Ruth Gombert, the manager. Ask about workplace health promotion programs and whichever ones they're considering now, which I told her I'd keep in contact with her until this gets finished. My proposal would be to introduce a program regarding involvement of community engagement of employees to the community, of course. You can tell that here most travelers here already are conscious of environmental risks surrounding the corner of the natural world, such as carbon emissions or global climate change, global warming. However, it doesn't seem like everyone has collected themselves all together, especially in this location, where the Patagonia is somewhat generally uncontaminated. My proposal would be to connect all these aimless aspirations and put them into a dynamic interaction between the workforce and hopefully into the community. The Puerto Natales Recycling Project is based in Puerto Natales. However, it is focusing generally in the community, or I'm sorry, generally in the company, and we hope that it can extend to the community as they recycle steel, fuel canisters, plastics, tinting equipment, things of the sort. By outreaching these efforts to the greater community of the entire region and the local families, the project can not only help the environment, but more importantly, build a stronger fashion of identity to a collective band of support. The importance of the plan. Most employees in this company do not struggle from dietary habits and smoking of that sort, lack of exercise. However, they do struggle from not gaining enough support for the movements that they choose in terms of recycling or preserving the nature and the waterfalls and the outdoors. So my plan is to strengthen and build a greater support system that will incorporate not just the employees of Erratic Rock, but also realign the community to these efforts. Now, here's where it lies a little difference in what we've been generally focusing on in most of our healthcare system flaws and evaluations and analysis is that physical support, of course, dietary and habitary things are obvious questions, but the mental and social support is where I believe the employees can gain the most benefit. By recognizing as a collective whole the importance of this plan, it will further propel as incentive for others to investigate the untapped power of natural exposure of the wilderness and one's own bodily benefits via hiking or exploring. Now, this is definitely a grander view of relative public health to seek identification and thus a healthier mindset and a stronger mentality to move on and be efficient with what you choose to what you choose. To the employees will note a significant boost in support, funds, grants, clientele interest, volunteers, even revenue for themselves in salary and the company. The employees will also support each other more since they have an allegiance to one another and they would better operate. Benefits to the company: it would see a major boost in revenue, recognition for its efforts of maintaining environmental consciousness. Operations of company would be more fluid. The company would work cohesively with surrounding community, engaging local and foreign visitors alike. And it would simply build a sturdier foundation to the presence and mission objective here at Erratic Rock, as well as likely to reduce accidents and damages. The Workplace Health Promotion Program. The culture of the folk living down at the base continent, already mentioned, don't necessarily have physical exercise as a problem, so we must approach it from a different point of view. This would be, as a nation, you would have to identify to a specific group, and then from there the efforts would show better. This would improve the mood and mindset of employees by constructing a well-devised plan to compound inhabitants of Patagonia to the efforts of Erratic Rock. Survey questionnaire. How aware is the topic of environment and its dangers? How much of your waste do you properly recycle? Where does waste go once deposited? Very simple scale from 0 to 3. 0 being nothing, 3 being very recognizable. The help topic. Mental state of employees can be challenging. The lack of support is even harder. Therefore, social arena would best be bolstered if we were to apply this. Seeking support from the local community might be the best health, since everyone would help each other and they would actually build a stronger fashion. The strategy would be to recycle. Pairing up with the community, with all the local regions, we would be able to promote programs, posters, advertisements, active involvement, and when people recognize their neighbors cleaning up, they'll do so too. Recycling programs can include stations all throughout the forest as well as throughout the regions. Community health is indirectly strengthened and sturdier, and the results can be easily recorded simply through waste management sites and incentives that you could permit as parking or permits or admission, rentals, whatever that can be done. Evaluation of the CEO. Well, the CEO would actually have a lot of understanding on how this analysis is working. The media would recognize the efforts better. The government would fund more topics, more of these kinds of projects, and the local community would flourish seeing that they can preserve and work together. The evaluation measurements. Well, these employees will be taking surveys as well as even the volunteers that are helping. Once they're collected, they're statistically organized and displayed, and there's a stronger sense of community that's being put together. The feedback from employee would be better, and information altogether. Future recommendations, I think that the company already is working with great fluidity. However, I think that building a community base would definitely help altogether in the industry itself, and that support is number one, and that people will believe and it will influence their health better in that manner. A couple of references here would be Erratic Rock, some study abroad research, a couple things from the WHO regarding mental health, and other places from the Chilean spot Santiago Times that actually gives us a better understanding of this altogether. I thank you for listening, and I wish to you enjoyed and learned something about erratic rock. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Thank you.